I didn't need to. Hacking is illegal. What I was doing was strictly administrative enforcement of a binding contract. I opened my laptop and logged into the Ironclad Logic remote admin panel. It communicated with the Quantum Ops servers via a heartbeat signal. Every hour their server pinged mine, am I still allowed to exist? And for 6 years. My server replied, yes, carry on. I poured a glass of whiskey, no ice. I took a sip and shuddered. It burned the lingering taste of corporate betrayal right out of my throat. On my screen, the status lights were all green. Inventory module active. Vendor API active. Payroll gateway active. I navigated to the license status tab. Current status, grace period. Grace period ends T-minus 48 hours. Jared had called my bluff. He thought the contract was a prop. He thought I was just a bitter old woman waving paper around. He didn't understand that the code I wrote was paranoid. I wrote it that way because I knew people like him existed. The software verified its license against the blockchain. It was immutable. I changed the setting from grace period to strict enforcement. Then I queued up a command, revoke license key 001. I didn't hit enter yet. I wanted to give them the weekend. Let them enjoy their mimosas. Let Jared brag to his brunch friends about how he trimmed the fat at the office. The system was designed to do a hard check at 8 a.m. Monday morning when the transaction volume spiked. I sat back and opened YouTube. I needed a palate cleanser. I put on a compilation of Danny DeVito eating garbage in It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia. There's something soothing about watching a man who has fully embraced the chaos of existence. I felt a spiritual kinship with Frank Reynolds. He was the trash man. I was the code woman. We were both misunderstood artists of filth. My phone buzzed. It was Mike, the junior dev. Text, Jared is popping champagne. He says he's going to use your salary to buy a ping-pong table. I hate it here. I chuckled and typed back, me. Don't sign any long-term leases, kid. Maybe call in sick on Monday. I spent the weekend doing things I hadn't done in years. I slept in past 6 a.m. I went to a diner and ate eggs that were dripping in grease. I didn't check my email. I didn't answer the frantic automated alerts that started pinging my burner phone around Sunday noon when the system started noticing the license server was unreachable. Sunday night, the whiskey bottle was half empty and my resolve was full. I looked at the clock. Monday, 7:55 a.m. The Quantum Ops offices would be waking up. The warehouse teams in our state and Nevada would be logging in to process the weekend orders. The automated procurement bots would be attempting to order $2 million worth of raw materials. I hovered my mouse over the revoke button. This wasn't revenge. Revenge is emotional. Revenge is keying a car. This was business. This was a landlord changing the locks on a tenant who trashed the place and refused to pay rent. Paragraph 4, bitches, I whispered to the empty room. I hit enter. On the screen, the status lights flickered. Inventory module unlicensed. Vendor API access denied. Payroll gateway critical failure. The cascading red text was the most beautiful thing I'd ever seen. It was poetry. It was grimecore art. It was the visual representation of mess around and find out. I took a sip of whiskey. It went down smooth this time. The silence on my phone didn't last long. At 8:03 a.m., the first text came in. It wasn't from Jared. It was from the automated PagerDuty bot, which I had forgotten to unsubscribe from. Alert, Sev1, critical outage, main database unresponsive. Error code, 402 payment required. Error 402. HTTP status code reserved for future use, but one I had repurposed specifically for this moment. It literally means payment required. I wondered if anyone in that building was smart enough to Google it. At 8:15 a.m., my phone rang. Unknown number. I let it go to voicemail. Then again. I imagined the scene. The warehouse floor in Nevada grinding to a halt because the scanners couldn't authenticate the inventory. Trucks lining up at the loading docks, drivers screaming because the digital manifests were blank. The customer service lines lighting up like a Christmas tree as thousands of orders failed to process. At 8:30 a.m., Mike texted me. Mike, OMG, everything is down, everything. The dashboard just says, please contact administrator. Jared is screaming at the servers. He literally kicked a rack. I smiled, eating a piece of cold toast, kicking the hardware. Universal sign of a man who has no idea how software works. At 9:00 a.m., the phone rang again. This time, the caller ID said Quantum Ops HQ. I picked up. I put it on speaker and set it on the table while I watered my succulent. Hello, I answered, my voice groggy, feigning sleep. Emily, this is Jared. His voice was an octave higher than usual. It sounded tight, like he was being strangled by his own vest. Who? Jared, the CTO. Look, have a situation. The system is down, all of it. We think it's a logic bomb. Did you leave something running? I don't work there anymore, Jared, I said, spraying the plant. I returned my laptop. I have no access. Don't give me that, he shouted. I could hear panic in the background, phones ringing, people yelling, the error message. It says license invalid. What did you do? Oh, I said, acting dawning realization. The license. Yeah, I told you about that on Friday. Did you pay the invoice? The invoice? I told you we're not paying that. It's extortion. It's a contract, Jared. And since you didn't pay and since you fired the on-site admin, the software has reverted to its default state. which is off. Turn it back on, he demanded. Right now, or I will sue you into the ground. I will ruin you. Jared, I said, my voice dropping to that cold, steel tone I used when training interns. We're currently using unauthorized intellectual property. My lawyer is drafting a cease and desist as we speak. If you attempt to bypass the lock, that's a violation of the DMCA. That's a federal crime. Do you look good in orange jumpsuits? It might clash with your vest. There was silence. Then a muffled voice in the background. It sounded like the legal counsel. I heard the words, she's right, and liability. Just fix it, Jared pleaded, his bluster evaporating. We're losing $10,000 a minute. That sounds like a you problem, I said. I'm unemployed. I have a lot of free time, but I don't do charity work for companies that fire me. What do you want? I want you to put the CEO on the phone, I said. He's in a board meeting. Then drag him out. Because in about 10 minutes, the vendor auto-pay system is going to try to wire payments to your suppliers. And since the encryption keys are locked, it's going to fail. Your supply chain will officially be dead by lunch. Hold on, he gasped. I heard the phone fumbling. I heard running footsteps. I took another sip of coffee. I wasn't just twisting the knife. I was showing them the anatomy of the wound. They thought technology was magic. They thought it just happened. They forgot that people built it, people with mortgages and pride and contracts. A new voice came on the line, deep, booming, but currently shaking. It was Richard, the CEO, man who had bought his third boat while I was patching the 2020 holes. Emily, Richard said. What the hell is going on? Morning, Richard, I said pleasantly. I believe your CTO evicted your landlord, and now you're locked out of the house. Richard tried to play the we're a family card immediately. It's the last refuge of a scoundrel with a falling stock price. Emily, look, emotions are high, Richard said, his voice dripping with fake empathy. Jared made a mistake. He's young, he didn't understand the nuances of your arrangement, but we can fix this. Just turn the servers back on, come in, and we'll discuss a raise, a big one. I was sitting on my porch now, feet up on the railing, watching my neighbor, old man Jenkins, wrestle with his lawnmower. He was winning, unlike Richard. I don't want a raise, Richard, I said, and I don't want my job back. That bridge didn't just burn, it evaporated. Then what? What is this? Blackmail. It's a vendor dispute, I corrected. You are currently in possession of proprietary software that you haven't paid for. Since you terminated the support contract, I am exercising my right to terminate the license. You have two options. I paused. I let the silence stretch until it became uncomfortable. Option A, I continued. You migrate to a new system. Jared seems to think he can build a cloud-native AI ecosystem, or whatever buzzword salad he spit out. Go ahead, build it. It took me 6 years to build Quantum Ops. Maybe he can do it in 6 hours. Good luck. We can't do that, Richard snapped. We're dead in the water without your platform. Option B, I said, you purchase a one-time perpetual license for the source code. Meaning you buy Ironclad Logic's IP. You own it, I walk away. You get the keys, the documentation, everything, you never see me again. Fine, Richard said instantly. Fine, we'll buy it. How much? 50,000. 100, I laughed. It was a dry, raspy sound that startled a squirrel on the lawn. Richard, you're losing 10 grand a minute. You processed $300 million through my code last year. 100 grand buys you a consultancy firm's PowerPoint presentation, not the engine of your company. How much, Emily? 2.6 million, I said. That's insane. Richard roared. That's extortion? That's the valuation, I said calmly. I did the math. It's exactly 1% of the revenue my code saved you during the pandemic. Plus a nuisance fee for having to listen to Jared call me sweetheart. I won't pay it. Okay. Good luck with the migration. Oh, and Richard? The Data Vault export protocol initiates in 1 hour. If the license isn't renewed or transferred, the system automatically purges customer data to comply with privacy laws. You know, GDPR and all that. You wouldn't want to keep user data on an unlicensed system. That would be illegal. You rigged it to delete the data? I programmed it to be compliant, I lied. Well, mostly lied. It was a privacy feature, but weaponized. I need time, Richard said, sounding defeated. You have 59 minutes, I said. I'll send the DocuSign to your personal email. I assume corporate email is down since the authentication server runs on? Well, you know, I hung up. I watched old man Jenkins finally get his mower started. It roared to life, spewing blue smoke. Yeah, get it, Jenkins, I muttered, raising my coffee mug. My phone buzzed again. It wasn't Richard. It was a LinkedIn notification. Jared Tech Guru has viewed your profile. I bet he did. I bet he was looking at my skills section, realizing that legacy architecture meant the only thing holding up the ceiling. I went inside and opened my laptop. I drafted the invoice. Ironclad Logic LLC. Service, transfer of IP rights and emergency system restoration. Amount, $2,600,000 and 0 cents. Note, payment required via wire transfer immediately upon signature. I sent it. Then I sat and waited. The power of being the one who built the maze is that you're the only one who knows where the exit is. They were trapped in the dark, and I was selling flashlights for premium. The next 45 minutes were a blur of texts from Mike. He was live blogging the apocalypse from the server room. Mike, 10:15 a.m. Bro, it's bad. Legal is screaming at Jared. They found the contract. The general counsel literally asked Jared if he can read. Mike, 10:22 a.m. Richard is red in the face. He's talking about calling the FBI. Legal told him that since it's a contract dispute and we stopped paying, FBI would just laugh. We literally breached first. Mike, 10:35 a.m. Jared is crying, actual tears. He's blaming the vendor. He said you sabotaged us. Richard threw a stapler at the wall. I watched the clock. 10:45 a.m. 15 minutes until the compliance purge, which was actually just a script that archived the data to cold storage, but they didn't need to know it was recoverable. My phone rang. It was legal. A woman named Sharon. I liked Sharon. She was sharp, but a polite one. Emily, Sharon said. Her voice was flat, professional. The voice of someone cleaning up a toddler's mess. We've reviewed the documentation. Hi, Sharon. Did you catch paragraph 4? I did, and paragraph 6. And the addendum regarding IP assignment. It's ironclad. Pun intended. I have a good lawyer. I see that. Look, Richard is ready to sign. But we need an assurance that the system comes back online immediately. No delays. The second the wire hits my account, I push a patch that updates the license key to perpetual. The red lights turn green. Business as usual. Jared can even keep his job if you haven't thrown him out the window yet. Jared is being handled, Sharon said. Sending the wire now. I refreshed my bank app. It's a strange feeling. Watching your net worth go from enough for rent and tacos to enough to disappear in a single second. Pending transaction. Plus $2,600,000 and 0 cents. Source, Quantum Ops Inc. It's there, I said, my heart skipping a beat for the first time all weekend. Unlock it, Emily. Pleasure doing business with you, Sharon. I hung up. I tabbed over to my terminal. Command, update license status perpetual. Command, cancel purge sequence. I hit. 2 minutes later, Mike texted. Mike, we are green. Systems are booting. The dashboard works. People are cheering. It's like the end of Apollo 13 in here. I didn't cheer. I felt a sudden, crushing exhaustion. The adrenaline dump. It was over. I had won. I had humiliated the tech bro culture that tried to erase me. I had secured my retirement. But I also knew I was done. I could never work in this town again. Word spreads. I was the developer who held a company hostage. They wouldn't tell the story about how they didn't pay me. They'd tell the story about how I was dangerous. I was fine with that. I looked at the bottle of Old Crow. I deserved an upgrade. I went to the kitchen and poured the rest of the cheap whiskey down the sink. I grabbed my keys. I was going to the good liquor store, the one with the cheese samples. But before I left, I sent one last email to Jared. Subject, transition handoff. Body, the keys are under the mat. Try not to burn the house down. P.S. The legacy garbage just cost you $2.6 million. Might want to respect the code next time, sweetheart. 2 weeks later, I was sitting in a waiting room, not the doctor's office, the lobby of Apex Logistics. Apex was Quantum Ops' biggest competitor. They were the Coke to our Pepsi. They were bigger, uglier, and meaner. They had been trying to poach me for years. I was wearing a blazer this time. No hoodie. I looked like a consultant. I looked expensive. The director of engineering at Apex, a guy named Stan who looked like a walrus in a tie, came out to greet me. Emily, Stan boomed. I heard you're a free agent. Rumor has it you burned Quantum Ops to the ground and then sold them the ashes. I just enforced a contract, Stan, I said, shaking his hand. Strictly business. Well, like business, Stan grinned. Come on back. We sat in his office. He got straight to the point. We're struggling with our vendor compliance module. It's slow. It crashes. We heard Quantum Ops has a system that works. Miracle code, they call it. It's not a miracle, I said. It's graph theory and efficient caching. And yes, I built it. Can you build it for us? I smiled. I can't give you the code. I sold them. That's their property now. IP transfer. I respect contracts. Stan looked disappointed. However, I continued, pulling a new folder out of my bag. That code is 6 years old. It's written in Java 8. It's legacy. I saw Stan's eyes light up. In my free time, I lied. It was actually during the endless meetings Jared made me attend. I've been sketching out a new architecture, Rust-based, high concurrency. It wouldn't just match Quantum Ops speed. It would lap them. It would make their system look like an abacus. And how long to build it? 6 months. If you give me a team and total autonomy. No Jareds, no product evangelists, just me and some coders who know what a pointer is. And the price? Consulting fee, I said, plus equity. Stan extended his hand. Welcome to Apex, Emily. I walked out of that building with a contract that made the $2.6 million look like a tip. Here's the thing about winning. It's not about destroying the other guy. It's about making sure that even when they think they've won, Quantum Ops technically own the code now. They're still losing. They paid millions for a Honda Civic. I was about to build a Ferrari for the guys across the street. I stopped by a newsstand on the way home. I checked the trade journals on my phone. Headline, Quantum Ops CTO demoted to special projects following Q3 outage. Jared wasn't fired. Of course he wasn't. He probably had an uncle on the board. But he was banished to the basement. He was now in charge of special projects, which in corporate speak means don't touch anything sharp. I lit a cigarette. The smoke curled up into the gray sky. I felt clean. 6 months later, Apex Logistics launched Apex Prime. It destroyed the market. It was faster, leaner, and didn't crash when you looked at it wrong. Quantum Ops stock dropped 40% in the first quarter. They were stuck with a legacy system that they barely understood. maintained by a team of terrified juniors who were too scared to change a line of code for fear of locking up the bank accounts again. I heard through